Best part about motorcycle ownership is when a fill-up is only $13, even when gas is $4.47 a gallon.
Like a bullet train. Moving like the speed of sound.
Skunk. So, I got asked a question last night that I was not at all surprised to receive, because this is a question that I myself asked around when I was first starting to get into motorcycle riding. And that question was, what bike is better for me to start on? Would it be a 250 or 300? Or is it okay to start right up at the 600 mark? Now, this particular person that was asking, he wasn't asking if he could go straight to a super sport, because that would be a right out no-brainer. That's the stupidest question you could possibly ask. Well, there are no stupid questions, only stupid answers. However, this person was asking if the middleweight class, like your Yamaha FZ6, Suzuki SV650, that sort of class of bike, if it would be alright to start on one of those as opposed to starting off on the lightweight bike like this. And the comment box on YouTube just isn't big enough for me to really thoroughly answer that question with how I personally feel. So I felt like I ought to do a video about that one as opposed to just replying to that single person, because I'm almost certain more people are going to be asking me this one. My take on starting off with a 600 as opposed to a 250 or vice versa. Well, it all comes down to what sort of experience you've had, how comfortable you are, how quickly you can learn and adapt, and also there are other side things like how big you are, how much you weigh, how tall you are, you know, those sorts of things. Because someone my size, I'm 5'10" and about 170. Someone my size will have a completely different experience on this bike than someone who's like, say, 5'3" and 100 pounds. Just to give you an example. Because there you're dealing with power to weight. If you're only thinking about speed, you're thinking power to weight. In which case, if you can keep your wits about you and be mature with a bike that has that much horsepower, yeah, go right ahead, go for it. However, if you think that you might possibly be getting yourself into a lot of trouble with the law, for example, maybe not the best decision you can make. But again, it's your decision. Now, as far as size is concerned, obviously the bigger the bike, the heavier the bike, because all that power has to come from somewhere. So if you are looking for a very nimble, the term that gets tossed around a lot is flickable. And when they say flickable, they mean you can go right to left to right really easy. For example, if you're looking for a bike like that, you're going to get a lot more of that out of the 250 class than you will get out of the 600 class. Now, going back to size, like I said, I'm about 5'10", 170 pounds. If you're bigger than me, like say you're, I don't know, a 6-foot guy, for example, this bike is going to be extremely cramped for you. In that case, you might want to look at possibly starting at the 650 or the 600 level. So in that regard, it's a toss-up either way. There is no clear answer to that sort of question, and that sucks because that's what everyone's looking for. Everybody's looking for clear answers. So maybe a different approach would be, let's see how well we can compare those two bikes back to back. Let's say, for example, we're shopping for me and we're comparing a SV650 versus a Ninja 300. Now, on the price point, the SV650 has that bike beat, because the SV650 is used. They stopped making those things years ago. So you're going to be shopping on the used market for something like that, and you're going to save yourself some money, at least in that regard. Downside is, in that way, you're not going to have anything as far as warranty. You will probably be paying a bit higher insurance rate depending on how your insurance is calculated. Sorry, trying not to get T-boned by that SUV. Yeah, depending on on what insurance provider you go through and what level of coverage you get, the SV or the FZ6 or a bike like that is going to probably cost more for insurance, just because it's a bigger bike and it's a higher risk group. So in that regard, price wise, it's still a toss-up, really. I mean, there's no clear winner there either. Alright, well, let's try a different approach then. What if we look at performance? Now, depending on how you classify performance, horsepower wise, no question, 600cc bike is going to have more than a 250, 300cc bike, because there's more there. Same thing with torque. Chances are you're going to have more torque, just because you have more displacement, more mass to move around. But if you're looking to get it into corners, and if where you're getting your thrills is by running your bike 10/10 or 9/10 on the highway and being able to get away with it, the 250 bike is the only bike you can really realistically do that with. Because when you're pushing the limits of a larger bike, you're so far over the speed limit, if you get caught, that bike is gone. Not that you can't get impounded on this, but it's a little harder to do. How about that? Now, what about safety? Now, safety is kind of a relative term, because being safe on a motorcycle is not like being safe in a car. In a car, you have crumple zones and airbags and seat belts and all that other stuff to add to your safety in case you mess up. With a bike, like with something like a motorcycle, your levels of safety are exactly the same whether or not you're on a 250 or on a Hayabusa. It just kind of depends on how fast you're going and what you're doing. So by safety, I'm referring to how easy is it to get into trouble with the bike. In that regard, the Ninja 250 is a safer bet, so to speak, of the two, because here you don't have the sort of power to go throwing your grip away. You don't have to worry about over braking yourself as much. The way the chassis is designed and set up, it's a little bit more tolerant, I suppose you could say. That, you know, also is synonymous for soft. Let's just say that this bike is going to be a little more tolerable of the two, because this bike was designed with beginners in mind. You can't just look at one thing and just be like, oh, that's a better bike. It's the whole big picture sort of thing. And that is where we once again run into our problem of, I don't honestly have an answer to that. Which bike is a better bike to start off of? That depends entirely on you. If you have experience riding dirt bikes, for example, go for the bigger one. Why the hell not? If you've only ever ridden a bicycle up to this point, you might want to start with a smaller one. If you're comfortable going with the big one, go for it. If you hurt yourself, I'm sorry. The fact of the matter is this: every bike has their list of things that they do well. Every bike has their list of faults. It is up to you as the rider to weigh the differences between the balances and the faults for each one of those bikes and make your decision accordingly. Oh man, let's see if I can try to group this up. Okay, here, how about this? If you are a straight up, total, complete freaking noob or you are running a little short on cash and you want something cheap but new and reliable and fuel efficient, go for the smaller bike. If you are not too worried about spending a little bit of extra scratch on both initial purchase and as well as keeping it on the road with insurance and maintenance, is it? No, insurance and gas. There, that's the one. Go for the bigger bike. So just buy what you want. Just, yeah, I know you're looking for justification, but you're the one that's going to be riding it, and no one knows you better than you. So hope I helped some. I probably didn't, because I've just kind of been talking in circles. So it goes. Either way, a rider's a rider. Doesn't matter what you ride.